The Kremlin yesterday threatened to fire nuclear missiles at us. Not making that up. This was Dmitry Medvedev, who has taken turns with Putin being president back when they were honoring the Russian Constitution, which term limits the presidency. Then when Putin came back into office, they just changed the Constitution, so he doesn't need Medvedev anymore. But Medvedev is kind of his right-hand guy, right? And this is what he said. He said, attempts to return Russia to the borders of 1991 will lead to only one thing, toward a global war with Western countries using the strategic arsenal of our state in Kyiv, Berlin, London, Washington. He also added that hypersonic missiles would also strike, quote, all other beautiful historical places that have long been included in the flight targets of our nuclear triad. He went on to say, will we have the courage to do this if the disappearance of a 1,000-year-old country, our great motherland, is at stake, and the sacrifices made by the people of Russia over the centuries will be in vain? The answer is obvious. In other words, what Medvedev is saying here is that if Russia loses Crimea, which is essentially, I believe, based on everything I'm reading, what they're most flipped out about, because they've got this massive naval base there, you know, in Crimea. If they lose Crimea, they're willing to start a nuclear war over that. Now, I'm skeptical. I don't present myself as some, great scholar or expert on international relations, but I've been on this planet for a few years and have seen this kind of thing go down. And this, by the way, this is not the first time that Putin threatened nuclear weapons. This is, I believe, the third or fourth time, and each time we've called their bluff. If you provide weaponry to the Ukrainians, there'll be nuclear war. We provided weaponry. If you provide them with those HIMARS missile systems, there'll be nuclear war. We provided them with the HIMARS nuclear system, or missile systems. I believe that there was a threat around high-performance jets. I'd have to go back and look. But the bottom line is the Kremlin is basically threatening us. And I'm frankly surprised. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see, actually, how this gets handled by Republicans, or if it just gets completely ignored. So far, I haven't seen any mention of this in the media, any prominent mention of it. And I have not heard one word from any Republican. Now, you could see where, somebody like Rand Paul, who has been just openly embracing Putin for years. I mean, he made a secret trip during the Trump presidency from the United States to Moscow to hand-deliver to Putin's intelligence services some top-secret documents that Donald Trump gave him to carry over there. We still have no idea what those documents were. Was it the 9-inch binder with all the Russian spies and Russian tradecraft that we know about? That is now missing? Was that it? Is that what Rand Paul took over there? We don't know. But, I could see somebody like Rand Paul coming out and saying, see, guys, I told you, you're playing with fire. You need to just get out of Ukraine and stop funding them and let the Russians move in there and steal 1 million children and, rape another couple 100,000 women and murders the young men of military age and steal the country and just let them do it. I mean, that's essentially the message that's coming out of the Trump wing of the GOP right now. And it's kind of a variation on the message that we've been getting from the whole Putin faction. Moscow Mike Johnson and Rand Paul and Mike Lee. And, you've got a bunch of these Republicans now who are just openly embracing Putin. They're saying, to hell with America, to hell with American democracy. Democracy is overrated. So what if Ukraine is a democratic republic? We don't care about democracy. We're far more interested in having authoritarianism here, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's a grim one. It's a grim one. And meanwhile, somehow Donald Trump has tied his own death and his legal woes to the death of Alexei Navalny. This is pretty bizarre. Nikki Haley went on fire. First of all, Putin orders Navalny murdered, and Navalny gets murdered, dies. A day or two goes by, and Donald Trump doesn't say a word because he's terrified of Vladimir Putin. I mean, Trump is scared to death of Putin. We don't know why. We don't know if he's being blackmailed or if Putin is holding out carrots or if it's, and if he's being blackmailed, is it about the hundreds of millions of dollars that Russian oligarchs and Putin gave him in the 90s when he went bankrupt and the early 2000s? Or is it because they've got the PP tape from when he was in Moscow, with the Miss Universe contest? Or is it something completely unrelated to those things? We don't know. But Trump is terrified of Putin. And so, he didn't say a word after Navalny was killed until Nikki Haley went on Fox News. My guess is Trump was watching Fox News when this happened because Nikki Haley went on Fox and Friends, which is Trump's favorite show, and called him out. Just said, he's afraid to say anything about Putin and about Navalny. And in fact, this is exactly what she said. She said, Nikki Haley said, "It's amazing to me how weak in the knees he is when it comes to Putin. Because you look at the fact he has yet to say anything about Navalny's death. Putin murdered him. It's what he does to his political opponents. And Trump has yet to say anything about seizing Russian assets and allowing that money to go to Ukraine. Why would you not want to have those assets seized? It's sitting in Congress. He should be calling for that. He doesn't talk about anything. All he does is go on these late-night rants talking about his court cases." And she goes on, right? She says, "That's why I continue to say if Donald Trump is the nominee, he can't win. He won't win a general election. And the focus we need to is how we, quack, quack, quack." And I think she's right. I don't think Donald Trump can win another national election. But that said, once she went on TV and called out Donald Trump for not talking about Navalny, Trump decided, okay, well, what the hell, I got to say something about Navalny. How do I write something over on my Nazi-infested social media site, failing Nazi-infested social media site, that includes Navalny's name, but that won't upset my overlord, Vladimir Putin, right? This is how Trump is thinking. So he writes this. This is what he wrote. This is Trump's finally giving in and acknowledging that Navalny has died. He won't say that Putin killed him, right? He's terrified. Like I said, Donald Trump is terrified of Vladimir Putin. So this is what he wrote. He says, "The sudden death of Alexei Navalny has made me more and more aware of what is happening in our country." I said, what? This makes no sense. And then he goes on, now that he's changed the subject, right, from Russia and Putin and Navalny, he goes, "It is a slow, steady progression with crooked, radical left politicians, prosecutors, and judges leading us down a path to destruction. Open borders, rigged elections, grossly unfair courtroom decisions are destroying America. We are a nation in decline, a failing nation, MAGA 2024. Right. Well, he did mention Navalny's name. He did finally mention Navalny's name. But, yeah. Meanwhile, the Biden campaign has a new ad out that is absolutely fascinating. I will share a small part of it with you on the other side of this break. It's almost 15 minutes past the hour. And we'll also be picking up your phone calls. A lot going on in the world today, right? Stay with us.